Hello and welcome along. This is the Crystal Conversation. It's both a podcast and an audio recording. And today I'm joined with the remarkable Kelly PC, who just seeing her takes me to a place of laughter and joy, but deep, deep wiseness. And Kelly herself is the principal behind the Cotswold School of Crystal Healing, and she's also an officer within the ACHO. And today I'm just thrilled and lit up to be able to share this space with her, and I hope you too, the listeners, will feel likewise. So welcome along, Kelly.
Oh, it's lovely to see you. And can I just say the feelings are absolutely mutual. When I see you, I smile too because I love your energy. And I have watched some of the other interviews you've done, and it's just been lovely. It really has just been, I want to be in your living room. I want to be in your living room, Lynn, because it's just a shame this whole COVID situation's getting in our way, because I really would travel otherwise. But no, today's an interesting day, isn't it?
Yeah.
We've just had that full moon lunar eclipse, and we just spoke before. We're all feeling a bit like, introverted and
Going inward, kind of reflective,
yeah, very reflective. So yeah, it's a pleasure to join you.
Well, I think from the inception of the Crystal Conversation, you've been there as a kind of connection, because obviously I've come inside some of your work on the Crystal Retreats and always found it deeply meaningful for me. And just that Kelly's connecting with something that of this time and this place, it's you bring it forward in a very accessible way, Kelly. So
Well,
I guess I just wanted to ask you about any reflections you have about this time, and what you are aware of maybe being inside of or bringing forward.
yeah, I mean, for me, crystal healing has always been about the spiritual journey, and as much as many people use it as a tool for ailments, crystal healing for me has always been something that helps me, or has helped me, realize deeper understandings of myself and the universe. And it's very, that everyone has such a different connection with angel crystals. I was going to say angels because the angels are here. And mine has always been, it's a journey of sort of self-discovery and meaning, really, and trying to make that so it is not something high and mighty for others, but something that actually we can all do. And just lately, I felt a real calling to start working more closely again with the angels. So many years ago, I used to teach a course called Healing with the Archangels. And this year has been so particularly challenging, is that the only word I can put it, really. I mean, it's been a double-edged sword of a year, really. Of course, there are hidden gifts to it, in the sense that many people will have received insights as into, what their journey, what has been serving their life and what hasn't been serving their life. But it's also been challenging because obviously, we've had to let go of our certain freedoms, and the freedom to just go for a coffee to a coffee shop, and we've had to realize that the happiness that we attribute to certain things isn't the only place that happiness exists. It can be found within us. And so working with the angels again, they really came to me about a month ago, and people started asking me, why don't you do that course, that you used to do? And you see, I've dedicated all my time to very much working with the angels and dowsing numerology and sacred geometry. And I thought, that's, I feel like I'm getting a bit of a nudge here. And yeah, and it just feels, and also it's silly really, because I don't know why I haven't been teaching it since, because actually I use, I hate that word. I work closely with the angels when I'm working with crystals. And I really feel that if the crystals are the amplifiers and the bridges from the earth to the divine on an electromagnetic energy scale, it's like the angels are the archetypal messengers. And so I feel actually, since the last sort of few weeks, that I've actually come home to myself. And I'm really grateful for this year for doing that. So I feel like I'm on that bridge, you know.
I completely can feel what you're saying there. There's a sense of, within all of this, coming home to something that's maybe deeper, more expanded. But I understand and feel what you're saying there about it just take you back into that. And I guess as we understand the spirals that we're inside of at the moment, things that maybe were around, we are revisiting those again at a higher octave of that spiral.
That is so right.
That's what that calls to mind. Yeah.
It's like we have to revisit things and take it to a higher level. I absolutely agree. That it is a spiral of returning, like you say, but on a higher level. But it's fantastic actually, because what the angels are doing is they're showing me new ways to work with the crystals, and how to use some of the sacred symbols, the angelic symbols with the crystals, and the crystals are coming forward as well. So I'm a firm believer that everything is conscious. Our difficulty comes in the sense that we have forgotten how to relate to things that aren't three-dimensional. Okay. And so, yes, we have a degree of empathy, but actually, we think the only way we can communicate is through our actions and our words. And, very much when we're working with crystals or anything else on a metaphysical level, we're working with intention. We're working with gratitude, we're working with love. It's just, and we're working with things that aren't necessarily that we're able to prove in a physical or scientific sense, and yet they are so uplifting. They are so they bring a richness to life. Actually, they bring a richness to life. They allow you to smile and to be happy, and for that I think our health needs. Okay. And so I'm sorry that happiness isn't a scientific what makes us happy. It can't be scientifically proven. And yet actually I feel that when I work with crystals and when I do all of the work I do, there's a sense of depth and breadth it gives me into my understanding of life and my place within it. So it's very interesting. But we do have this issue with, what do we relate to? Because, we really do only really honor and recognize a very small portion of reality. And and so it's like, what we see, what we touch, what we hear, what we feel, what we smell, and yet there's this whole invisible electromagnetic world around us. And crystals are enormous, and not only are they enormous, they're bloody beautiful. They're beautiful, and they are part of our great mother. She has given us this body, this opportunity.
We're a part of, and as you say, it's because we are in a time where we're beginning to expand out with our consciousness. We've probably done it for a long time, but we seem to be galvanizing in a way that we're being able to articulate it a little bit better than we we have been able to do, I guess. So we are at that time where we can start to but allow that flow through us by bridging with the crystals that in turn, like you say, the angelic realms, higher dimensions, elemental realms. It's kind of a common communicating language, almost a network that we can tune into.
Well, I feel like we're finding our place in the grand scheme of things. Well, you know, some people, you know, and you know, obviously we're not totally there, because if we were there, what would be the point of it all? But you know, it is like we're finding our place in the universe. You know, who are we? Well, we're nature. You know, we're the minerals, so we can relate to crystals. We're organic. You know, we've got loads of funky in us. And you know that, you know, we're the same material as stars and planets, and you know, we've got all those gases, and so we really are honoring the fact that we're cosmic energy, electromagnetic beings, I feel, at this point. And I also feel that, you know, there are so many invisible helpers, or not yet seen or understood helpers. And crystals are one of those. And you know how they connect with us. You know, they connect with the minerals within our body. They connect with the tissue that our body is made of, because we're made of earth. And I just, and there's also this fact that they're billions and billions of years old, and that they keep the records, you know, they keep that psychic, you would call it residue, you know, or informational field of the whole of Earth's history. And there's a great wisdom there. And it's a structural, energetically, I feel that when we work with crystals, it's like they are structurally, you know, kind of like putting us into alignment. And they're bridging, helping us bridge, you know, to the higher dimensions of our understanding that we're able to comprehend. And so I always feel like they're taking us just step by step. And of course, you know, everything isn't just love and light. You know, we live in a duality consciousness. And because it's a duality consciousness, you know, as much as we grow in the light, we understand more of our dark. Okay, and we need that light and dark in order to reflect upon, you know, the qualities really. And somewhere between the two, certainly during this year, we swing between the both. But we're only ever trying to find balance. And that's the healing part of it, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Nature wants to balance.
Yeah. And in order to kind of move towards that balance, it involves that integration of the shadow and the light, so that we can almost work with it to truly know it, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And the shadow's the stuff that we got programmed, you know, we took on sort of in childhood, that, you know, this is not acceptable, you know, this is not acceptable behavior, not acceptable thinking patterns, not acceptable beliefs. And so what we did was we repressed it. You know, we hid it, and then when it comes out spontaneously, when we're off balance, noticeably, what happens is we go, oh my god, I can't deal with this, you know, and it sends us into turmoil. And yet the shadow isn't there to be repressed, it isn't there to be hidden or denied, you know, it really is there to be honored as part of your life journey. There's a certain power in that, in the fact that it can't be repressed. It will come out the minute you're unbalanced. And when it comes up, it's bloody scary, you know. But it's who we are. You know, we're not perfect. You know, we're not pure light, pure love. You know, we are also this other part of us that needs to be heard. And I feel that's the shadow. The shadow needs to be honored. It needs to be heard, because it's part of your journey, part of your wounding, or you know, the detrimental beliefs that you took on, you know, as you know, from our parents, and of course they probably took them on from their parents, and you know, and therefore it's the ancestral shadow partly too, you know. It's so we've got a lot to do in this life, Lynn.
Well, I'm just thinking, well, as you're speaking, what's coming to my mind's eye is the symbol of the yin yang. Yin yang.
Yeah.
And there's always the dot, isn't there? Either the black in the white or the white in the black, because it's out from that nurturance that it kind of absorbs and works with whatever they're working with. So in the light, there is that speck of the dark to absorb it through, and in the dark there is the light to absorb it through, isn't there? It's looking at wholeness, really, isn't it?
And it's really interesting, you know. I feel like, you know, there are times where we have to enter the dark, you know, and you could say in the cycles and seasons we do that. So currently, you know, soon we'll be going into winter. You know, it's a dark, icy, archetypal, cold time. And so we enter the darkness and we go inside and we reflect on the things that we did right, the things we did wrong. But we know that through the darkness you enter the light, and through the light you enter the darkness, because the two are completely inseparable, you see, and they're both on the same bar. They're just polarities. So somewhere we're in between, and yet sometimes we have to do the journey of darkness only to realize that on the other side is blooming light again. And so and then we go through light and we realize there's dark. So I feel sometimes spiritually we are seduced by the light, you know. So we go through darkness in our life, heaviness, maybe grief or ill health, and in that period, you know, we start to look outside of conventional solutions, and I'm not saying they're because they're no good, but we're just looking. We're in a space of desperation and seeking. And then we see this very enticing happiness glow of light, you know, and we take it on and we take in more information. And you could say information is like light. And all this information is kind of helping you grow and become stronger and more empowered and, you know, of a lighter consciousness. And then something really weird happens, in that you recognize your shadow. and then of course, you know, you're unpacking that shadow and seeing, you know, what parts of it were not your fault or were your fault.
Yeah, and liberating it as well. I know certain cultures do celebrate what might in other cultures be perceived as the dark. You know, they do celebrate it. I know, like in the Irish, the melancholia, the sadness becomes a means by which beautiful poetry is written, and sounds and music. We have a way of celebrating these natural states that are all part of who we are, without judgment of that's a good state or that's a bad state. You know, thinking of all the beautiful work and come out of being able to truly sit with that exploration, really.
It's almost like we've forgotten how to be who we really are, you know, from what you're saying, you know, in a sense that, you know, with social media and you know, keeping up with the Joneses, it used to be, you know, there's this sense of always having to put on something that's acceptable. And I think, you know, you're very right in what you're saying, that in the darkness is the pure potential, you know, it's the void, you know, there's everything and yet there's nothing on a, you know, on an esoteric occult level. And it's from that creativity is spawned. And it's okay, you know, to feel, you know, heavier, or, you know, that you're in it. You know, it's okay to be vulnerable. I think it's okay to be ourselves. And I think that's a lot of this year has been about shadow work, if I'm honest. Certainly in Friends Finding Light, which is one of the groups I've been doing for 10 years. You know, we've done an awful lot of shadow work where we've needed to kind of really bring it up to the surface and honor it, the power that it holds, and the fact that it's part of our journey, but also the journey of our ancestors. So yeah, it's, you know, it's yeah, there's a need for recognizing its importance, certainly for the spiritual journey. And very much a lot of the crystals that I've been working with this year are things like black obsidian, black kyanite, and just, yeah, really, you know, go inside, you know, find the jewel in the lotus, you know, find that little pearl of wisdom that's deep in our hearts that, you know, needs to be taken on board.
The friends finding light, I know it's something I have been trying to find with you, which I have shared, and that will go ahead. But I think this opportunity to bring human beings together to experience this within a shared collective is so profound, because it means that we dare to venture into this, and we can do it with the support of our brothers and sisters, which I think is fundamental to these times, is realizing that we have brothers and sisters. It's a human experience. It's not individual, personal. It can feel like that, but it's shared within the human consciousness, really.
Well, it's community, isn't it? And I think, you know, some of the stuff that we do and believe, you know, individually is always very, very different, actually, in Friends Finding Light. But I think you're right, that community, finding people that you can actually just be yourself with, you know, that you can acknowledge where you are in life, where you are that day, you know, what energies are influencing you, you know, what are you being called to do on an energy level, or for yourself or for others. And so for Friends Finding Light, it's really that it's called Friends Finding Light, but light is symbolic of truth. And I'm not saying it's only light that's truth, because dark is truth too, but light is in the sense of awareness. So you could say it's friends finding awareness. But to be able to do that now in these times, you know, as much as I might have moaned about social media and, you know, the fact that, you know, a lot of it, you know, we're kind of putting on a persona for, or it seems, actually, you know, I know there's many of these little communities now where and you know, this is something that's growing, and people are able to reach out with the modern technology, you know, using Zoom, using Facebook, you know, to find people that kind of understand the need to nurture something more than the physical and the emotional, you know, feel this sense of connection.
And I suppose with COVID and the reset opportunity, it's almost as if we're having to expand certain ways of experiencing our consciousness, that almost we're picking up on energetics. We might not know how to interpret it just yet, but we're picking up on energetic attractions. And
oh yeah,
that if we can be, as you say, if we can be within a certain level of ourselves, we can open up to that receptivity a little bit more, because there's less external distraction.
Yeah.
Platforms you're describing kind of bringing people together in this way.
And they're safe, aren't they? They're safe, you know, it's safe, you know, because, you know, you're unlikely to get poked and prodded at by, you know, people that are sort of saying that you're talking about nonsense, or, you know, that no, you can't talk to crystals, or no, you know, there's no invisible beings, and no, you're not energy, and no, your thoughts do not affect your body. And so, but the world is changing. The world is changing, and I'm just really grateful to be here at this time whilst it's doing that. So I can't even begin to imagine what it's going to be like next year. I think, you know, we all knew that 2020 was going to be a massive year, and yet the foreseeing of You know, some of the things that have happened has been quite extraordinary. But yeah, you know, we are electromagnetic beings, and we're in a sea of electromagnetic energies, and we're constantly being impacted by whether it's well, most definitely from our sun, and almost most definitely from our moon, but all and all the planets, and the emotions of other people, environments, earth energies, and yet people don't talk about it. And if you do talk about it, you know, you can't exactly go to a supermarket and say, oh, do you know, that full moon, that really did me over last night, you know, or did you feel that? Did you feel that energy in that corner? Because people think you're barking, and yet actually, when you're really sensitive, which I know you are too, you know, there's you can, you know, it's a need to kind of stabilize. You know, so we are in a sea of electromagnetic energy, and that's the energy that we relate to. It's not what we say or do, it's what we're relating to energetically, and it's affecting us and we're affecting it, and you know, that's who we are.
Yeah. I know, I don't know how it's been for you, but I know friendship groups that I have, often I know more people that don't necessarily comprehend or believe that they don't have an awareness necessarily of the energetic means by which that which we're bathed within, but they will all share similar kind of reflections and awarenesses that are cropping up, and it's almost like trying to bridge it with a language that doesn't sound too airy fairy, or even kind of like off patch, you know, oh, that's the energies are dismantling at the moment, or the energies are, but not to denigrate the very real experience, because it is a very real experience.
Yeah.
And finding a way and a language that can start to bridge that possibility that, yes, it is a personal experience, but it's within the context of the whole.
Yeah, no, I do understand what you're saying, that the language with which we talk, you know, can be a bit like, you know, what's it on about, you know.
But people say to me, anyway, Lynne, what's going on? And I'm like, well, you know, and for a and it's when people feel that they're touching upon something that's familiar, but it's a little bit more special, it's about something else, and it's unlocking the keys to work out what might it be about, you know.
Yeah, no, definitely. Definitely. But we, you know, it has been a very interesting year, and I do think it is most certainly part of our spiritual evolution, as much as our you know, psychological, you know, waking up, you know, to, you know, what is and isn't working this year. And you know, there's some interesting astrological stuff on its way, you know, and we'll just have to see where it takes us.
Saying, is this like the movement towards the end of the year and December the 21st and around that time? Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah. So we've got, I think it's September the 17th. We've got Saturn leaving Capricorn, and then September the 19th we've got Jupiter leaving Capricorn, and then on the 21st of September, hold on, my internet's just gone unstable, sorry about that. On December the 21st we have the winter solstice, which is actually one of my favourite times. On that same day, Jupiter and Saturn do a conjunction, and it's not a conjunction as at 0 degrees of Aquarius, which is many astrologers have been looking towards as being monumental, you know, and this year has very much been, I feel like we've been in this cosmic birthing canal, and you know, this whole if in my mind I imagine it as the mother of creation trying to birth, you know, a new reality for humanity, you know, and the growing pains and the pushing forward and the stopping and the yeah, and it's like, it'd be interesting, I feel, next year to see how different the energy is going to be. I think actually when we get to December, you know, mid-December, you know, we're really going to start to feel those cosmic cogs turning and starting to subtly shift the way we look at things, you know, less Capricorn, more Aquarius.
Yes, I love what you're saying here. Yeah.
So it's exciting times, but it has been a birthing process, and that birthing process is like almost like stripping away, you know, the stuff that we actually realize has no value, you know, or is of little importance, you know, and some of the things that we recognize are really important are the stuff that you've just said: community, relationships, you know, that whole word relate. How do we relate to the world? How do we relate to ourselves? You know, what language are we using? What exchanges? What are we sharing? What are we receiving? Is it of real value? You know, and if it isn't, if some people, you know, then we need to rethink it. You know, is it even real? You know, is the stuff that we think we're gaining joy from, you know, is it real? You know, and I don't know, this year's it's been a paradoxical year because it's been complicated, you know, it's been confusing, and yet there's also been like a needing to be simple, to make everything simple, you know, and the very question, you know, I sort of say to people is, you know, just ask the question, what do I need now? You know, what do I need now in order to feel balanced? What, you know.
And I love what you're saying in the sense of it's making me think about the I moving towards the we, really, in terms of the shift from Capricorn to Aquarius. It's something about, as you say, that the quality of the relational will become more prevalent in how we experience ourselves.
Absolutely, and I hope it'll be less about hierarchy, you know, where things get filtered down, like you say, and much more about equality, you know, that humanitarian vision, you know, of we're all equal. We'll just have to see, but I can't. People say to me, "Oh, you know what? Do you think it's going to get better?" And I look at them like, "Well, what do you mean?" That's like the hardest question to answer. What do you mean? Is it going to be easier for you, or is, you know? And the answer to that is, do you know, there's always supposed to be challenges. You know, we're always, and it's through those challenges, through the difficult periods, where we're really pulled back, you know, and stopped and blocked, you know, that we have to sort of really go, whoa, you know, what is going on, you know, and it's the challenging times are actually, I think, sometimes more productive than the free riding. So it's like, you know, when you're riding up a hill and it's really hard going, and yet during that time you're developing muscles, you know, you're really giving your muscles and your not that I do this, by the way. I can't say I've rode a bike up a hill for a long time. I'm just using it as a story. But you're riding this bike, you're going up a hill, and you're using your muscles and you're using your heart, and then you get up the top of the hill and you're like, wow, you know, this is amazing, look at the view. And then you experience the joy of going free, you know, you take your feet off the pedals, you know, and you howl all the way down, you know, enjoying the experience of having done all the work, you know, and it's those challenges of doing the work.
And that's what we are inside of. Our bodies are naturally primed to that, aren't they? With the endorphin release, that's what will naturally happen when we have push through something. That's the natural outcome for ourselves, really, isn't it?
We need a bit of stress, now when I say a bit of, I don't mean like too much. And I think half of humanity's problem, and certainly my own during periods, is that we take on more stress than it's needed. We create problems that aren't there, that become bigger. And so stress is really a motivational, when you think of it physiologically, it's a motivational thing. It's like, yeah, I've got to do this. I might not necessarily want to do it, but I've got to do it. I'm going to push through it. And, and I really feel that, this year's been a bit like that. It's been, Mars has had huge impact upon our awareness. I feel, I feel that sort of mid-year, that the conflict, certainly in the UK, and I think elsewhere, if I'm honest, this sense of I need to stand up for what I feel's right. And then also this, well, actually, none of us really know what's right. But I don't know, I really realised that mid-year this year there was quite a division, and it was quite alarming, actually. The awareness of the polarisation and opposition. And, Mars has been in Aries for its home planet, its home sign, for 6 months. So there is that kind of push forward, of that inner warrior energy. And yet, who are we fighting? What are we fighting for? It's been a funny year, but I think we've learned a lot, and but certainly duality and polarity, and it has been a big thing this year. So
with the what are we fighting for bit, I think is I find it a place where I can actually sit with the crystals and resonate with the crystals, which kind of clarifies that a little bit more, that what are we actually fighting for? Is it just personal, or is it within the context of the planet that we live on and with our brothers and sisters that we share it with? Whatever this, it shifts. It gives more of a context to, well, what are we fighting for?
Absolutely. And we have to sort of understand, are we fighting, like you say, on a personal egoic level, just because someone's challenged us in our beliefs? Or are we fighting for something that's of great importance to humanity? Well, I can't answer that for anyone, and I can't even answer it for myself right now. Only that I think there's a bigger picture, and so, this polarization, this opposition, hopefully, it's a way of making people think outside of the box. It's made us step out of our comfort zone, and I see that happening, not polarization and opposition, but I do see that need to step out of our comfort zone. Let's look for other sources of information, let's look for other sources of health, let's question what we believe, and not take it as the absolute, because everything is always changing. But I feel, certainly, through, mid-year, June, July, there was a real sense of, and particularly I noticed it on Facebook, and the word which I can't stand is cognitive dissonance, where people are so stuck in their beliefs, whatever they believe, by the way, whatever they believe, that the minute it's challenged, they refuse to even look at the alternative. And I think we have to understand that we're always here as learning, and that if something presents itself in our reality, and it presents certainly as a number of times, it's of importance that we really look at it and unpack it. And it might be something that resonates with us long term. It might not. but I do feel that we need to honour, you know, what information is around us. And like I say, for us, you know, we sense and we know energy, information that isn't tangible. Okay, and we've had to investigate that in our lifetime, you know, because it was there.
It's interesting, Kelly, as you're speaking, I'm thinking that period you're describing in the middle of the year was associated with the triple gateways, I think, wasn't it? And the eclipses, I think there was a lot of,
Oh, you're right, yes.
a lot of resetting. And I'm thinking today as we meet, we've got another eclipse going on, and it's just causing me to reflect, maybe this is like a final kind of reflection of, or a point that we can hit where we do have a chance to revisit those beliefs. Not that the beliefs are right or anything, but just where are they coming from? You know, it is a reflective time.
Well, I think now is a powerful time, and I think eclipses, I mean, our ancestors, you know, they had all kinds of storytelling about, you know, disasters and surprises and, you know, and you can imagine they're looking up and it's an eclipse and it's like, whoa, the gods are really angry with us today. You know, they're going to punish us, or, you know, the fact that even animals would really behave strangely, you know. And, you know, we have to remember that the sun and the moon and the earth are electromagnetic, and they're having a lovely little dance up there.
Yeah, and our body systems, the whole of what we live inside of, likewise, will pick it up, won't it? Almost at an automatic biological level, yeah.
So there's electromagnetic differences. You know, everything's a little bit like not, you know, it is this dance of the planets, and where it is with the eclipses that does affect our psyche, our energy levels. And so for the full moon lunar eclipse, it's natural that we feel a bit quiet, a little bit tired, you know, there's a culmination in relationships, endings or understanding. And then of course in 2 weeks time, when we get that solar eclipse in Sagittarius, which is the self node, it's really going to be I think that's going to be quite exciting. You know, it's like, for starters, it's a new moon, and new moons are always about planting the seeds, but the fact that it's an eclipse means its effects are going to be for the next 6 months. But the fact that it's also aligned with you know, Sagittarius and the South Node, you know, which is about, you know, being able to let go of beliefs, you know, and embarking.
Is the South Node like a collective destiny? I know the nodes represent personal and collective destinies. I'm just wondering, is the South Node, I've heard somewhere that the South Node is actually an opportunity as a collective to have a reflective point about what is our personal collective destiny? Are we all kind of tapping into that unconsciously, and even if we're not consciously aware of it, maybe forming up thoughts or ideas or ways of being that we have an opportunity to re-establish at this time? I don't know.
Yeah, well, I mean, the North Node is about our destiny, and it's how we go forward. And currently, it's in Gemini, so it's, you know, it's really about the Gemini twins, Castor and Pollux, and you know, in mythology. And it's how, in the storytelling, you know, the polarities, the two beings that were exceptionally different, although from the same father, one having a godly mother and one having a human mother, actually the only way they worked, they, you know, by coming together through their differences. And this is what I'm saying, the polarity, the duality, that's how they succeeded. And so our destiny is through relationships. You know, if we build community and we learn how to relate to the world around us and energy and ourselves, and be more thoughtful about that, you know, things are, or may, or could be better. But the South Node is in Sagittarius, And the South Node is, you know, what we're leaving behind. And so we're leaving behind some of the more heavier or perceived negative influences of Sagittarius. Now, everything has a positive and a negative, so we're not going to worry about that. But and there's lots of positive to Sagittarius, absolutely. But it's really, you know, leaving behind that I'm right, you're wrong, you know, and actually, I mean, Sagittarius is a kind of what, you know, it's the centaur, and it's got its feet on the ground, but it's a human head, and he's got this arch, you know, he's got bow and arch, and he's firing up into the stars. So he's looking up and out of the comfort zone. But yeah, I mean, I feel it's more about leaving behind our beliefs. You know, what do we, you know, what have we, how have our beliefs actually now started to limit us? And can we just let them go? You know, can we not move towards the Gemini twins and see our differences as assets? You know,
yeah, well, thank you so much for taking us through this conversation. I guess too, with bringing the threads together to that point about what we are choosing to leave behind, and how relating will become more of a foundation for our experience of, and working energetically with that. And I know you spoke earlier about the angel work that you found yourself engaged in. Is there a chance to join up the dots between our capacity to relate and the angel work?
I think so. I think the angels are, you know, they are archetypal qualities of the divine, and you know, and many people, you know, see the angels as something external. For me, I see them something that is within us, something timeless. You know, it's not just this lifetime. But I do feel the angels are there as a way, you know, you could, you know, people say, you know, are you not trying to become more angelic? You know, and it's not about being perfect. It's about being aware of what motivates us. And I think that's the key, you know, that I feel that the angels are really inspiring, is it's about the awareness of why am I seeing this? Why am I doing this? Why do I feel that? And what is my motivation? Is my motivation a fear, ego, you know, or is it actually, yeah, so it's why am I doing what I'm doing? And I feel, you know, angels encourage us, much like crystals actually, you know, they support that journey of contemplation, you know, where we do go inside and we ask, why am I doing what I'm doing? And it's also a level of regaining understanding of our connection to the universe, and to, you know, what else is out there. And so it's, yeah, I don't know if that answers you with that, Lynn, but
you're describing it as a connective, as you're describing them as a part of a connectivity within the universe, and that then speaks to me about our own conscious expansion, because we are told that the universe is within us. So I'm kind of thinking that the angels are, as you were saying, as a bridge or a connection, or something that can come and be a part of our consciousness experience. We can become more aware, and I think this time is about becoming more aware.
Definitely.
Yeah,
I think it's time to be more responsible. You know, what do we bring to this world? You know, what do we leave behind for our children and their children? You know, what do we pass on to them, not only physically as problems, you know, in you know what we're doing to the world, but what do we pass on to them psychologically, you know? And I just feel that, you know, by doing inner work, and angels is just one way, you know. I mean, people will find their own way, their own truth, but it's about finding, you know, your way of becoming a better, more mindful, you know, person, you know, and it's about finding that compassion and empathy. And I think as our awareness grows, we do grow in empathy. You know, we can't help but not feel the other people's energy, or the environment's energy, or animals' energy, and we start questioning, why am I doing what am I doing? Is it actually right that I take this for granted? You know, is it actually right that something suffers because I need this? And I think that's
Sorry.
okay.
It's as you're speaking, and I've just sat here for a minute thinking, can I bring this in? But I'm just aware we're probably coming up to the end of the time that we've got together. But I'm just aware that in my experiencing of angels, actually has always come into my life at points where there's been transitions of the familiar. By that I mean people passing over or animals passing, but there's been a transitional element to it. It's no longer conscious habitation on the planet. And that's when I felt the angels kind of merge much closer. And I'm just struck by what you found yourself reconnecting within, Kelly, because of course this year has been a huge time of transition for so many of us, like a global experience of that almost like that transitional phase that we've gone through on the globe, really. I'm just struck if it's making me wonder if that...
It's been, I mean,
Sorry?
It's been a surreal year. You know, on some levels it's been surreal. And I feel that, you know, in a lot of people's hearts, there's been a feeling of, I'm lost. You know, it's uncertain. What's going to happen? You know, where are we going? You know, is there going to be something that saves us? And that transition part of the angels that you're saying is like, it's almost like a holding energy, you know, a reinforcing that everything's going to be fine. You've just got to, you know, get up this hill on this bike. And sweat a lot, you know, and then you're going to have this most amazing experience. Yeah, but definitely transition. Oh, bless you.
Well, I want to thank you so much for today. But before I let you go, I wondered if for the viewers and the listeners, you could say a little bit more about how people may be able to connect in with you, Kelly, or find out more about the work you're inside of.
Okay, well, I mean, it's certainly look on my website, although my website is being redone at the moment. So it's just my name, kellypc.com, and PC is PEACEY. The other thing is you can find me on Facebook or Instagram, and because of my website currently being changed, I'm doing a lot more posting about events and courses, and you know, I write articles and put them up there, and I love befriending people, so you know, please do feel you know, reach out, and also of course there's Friends Finding Light, and currently Friends Finding Light is online due to this year, you know, with not being able to meet, so and so it's there for everyone basically, but you know, it's been an absolute pleasure, Lynn.
Well, I really appreciate your work, Kelly, because for me, you've managed to consider many different layers of what it is to be human on the planet at this point. And I'm thinking I've really appreciated some of the maybe awarenesses in terms of how we represent ourselves as a part of society, and politically as well, and what we're aware of and how informed we allow ourselves to be. And I really appreciated that, Kelly, because it's a grounding in of, yes, we speak about expansion, but also it then impacts on all these different levels, and that's what I've really...
Thank you. Well, I've loved talking with you, Lynn, and I could talk with you for a million hours, I think, and just sit with both our smiley faces, and just because, you know, because, you know, that's one of the pleasures of life. But thank you so much, and yeah, no, thank you.
Thank you, Kelly, and look forward to catching up with you again through 2021, either on one of the opportunities you give us through courses or in other ways. So thank you.